First of all, I love the memery of that. Like, just the meme quality of that is unreal. Friends and family of Cardivox Academy, back at it again. We are this week with another vocal reaction video. Filming this on Friday, but publishing it on Saturday, which is tomorrow, because tomorrow will be Dungeons and Dragons all day. So I won't have time to film it, but I don't want to miss the video, so we're doing it a day early. Filming it a day early, publishing it the same day. So now you know. Anyway. This week, the Facebook community voted on Ecocide by a band called To The Grave with a vocalist named Dane Evans. Now, I've heard a little bit of this band before. I don't think I've heard this song. So I'm excited to get into it. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I find a lot of new music through y'all's suggestions. So let's get a little strange. Let's get weird. It's a goofy Friday down here at Casa de Cardivox. And see what's going on. Oh. Right into it. Not wasting any time. All right, that's where we're going to take our first break. So at the beginning, it sounds like they're putting some sort of effect on his vocals. Now, let me just be clear. I don't mean that in a way that I think he's faking technique at all. I think it's pretty clear that you can hear that there's a really solid, cool metal vocal, well supported underneath it. But it sounds like they're putting some grit and some gain on top of it just to kind of make it sound more aggressive. And that's fine. I've talked about vocal effects before, and I don't have any inherent problem with them. It is making it a little bit tough for me just in the moment. Maybe if I sat down and really dug into it, it is making it a little tough for me in the moment to tell if he's doing fry or false chord on those high vocals. But sounds good. Sounds good. I'm more interested in that rotary saw noise. I'm sure there's a lot of production on that, but I just want to hear it again. Yeah, so I don't know what was going on there. One thing that I can speak to maybe what he's doing underneath those vocal effects. Whatever's going on top, you'd have to ask somebody who's more into audio production than me. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it sounded like there was a tunnel going on, and he was articulating it with his lips, and it sounded like he was putting some vocalization in there as well. So you can do that. Sometimes you see. That's what I'm saying. Like, could be fry. I don't think it's false chord. It couldn't, because the vocals. Anyways, here's how I would approach it. All right, I can't really tell fully how he's doing it, but here's how I would approach making the sound that's underneath what that sound was. I would get my tongue in a tunnel position, and I would try to do a high vocal, pushing the distortion and the resonance to the top and the front of my mouth, and then I would add a little bit of voice underneath it. Shouldn't really attempt that until you understand how to separate those things. But I would try to make some sort of sound like kind of like that. And then to get it that high, I'd probably pitch shift it upwards, and then do whatever else. But that's how I would approach doing that if me and Nico were in the studio just trying to make some funny noises. But anyways, let's move on. There's that kind of hardcore yell again. I feel like that's starting to show up a little bit more, which is fine. I think it sounds pretty cool. With that, a lot of what's going to take that from just a generic, metal shout to like sort of a hardcore shout is giving it a little bit of a whininess. Now, I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that's just kind of what creates the sound. So if I say a phrase, let's say, I'm drinking some milk. I don't know why. I had some almond milk this morning. Maybe that's where it came from. And I just yell it normally. Yeah, I'm drinking some milk! Not really very hardcore-ish, but if I give it a little bit of whine at the front and then use bigger articulation with sort of a lazy, relaxed, like lips, it'll start to sound a little bit more like hardcore screaming and yelling. So, yeah, I'm drinking some milk! Kind of how you get there. You hear the whininess, you hear the the laziness of the lips. It's kind of where you start to get that sound, and I think it sounds cool. Ooh, that was sick. Nice. This guy's got some really cool highs. The reason I like him is because he sort of barks them out. I want to go back to right in this spot, and there's one section where he's kind of like doing this real staccato, quick, like it's kind of got a barking sound, right? And that's actually a really good way to practice cheeks, to letting your cheeks puff out like we've talked about, and it's really good diaphragm work too. So I want to hear that, and then we can talk a little bit about his high tone itself. Really, really cool. So that high tone, a lot of my students and I work on that, and you can think of it. Now, this technique isn't unique to me. Screaming over the pencil, I didn't make that up. But in singing, we sing over the pencil, and in screaming, we can scream over the pencil. And if that visualization doesn't work, you can imagine screaming at your hard palate. And when you do that, you can slowly push with your diaphragm to add a little bit more air to the high, and it'll give it that thin, tight distortion. So like a normal high, a lot of the highs that I do sound a little bit more, on these lines. Yeah! But if I push a little bit, relax a little bit up top, add a little bit more breathiness, just a tiny bit, it'll start to have like a thinner, tighter distortion. And that's a way that you can kind of get close to this sound here. And I think that it's probably what he's doing. That would be how I would approach it. That last section of lows was really cool. So what he's doing here is he's keeping his lips kind of together like this, and you can actually push and control your articulation with your cheeks and kind of like what would be a good word for this? Puff out. You can sort of puff out your words, and he's doing some of that here. Let's hear that again. Yeah, that's really neat. One more time. Yeah, so that's a really cool thing you can do. I mean, it's all mouth shapes. So keep the lips pursed forward, a little tight. Let your cheeks be relaxed. And you can get really cool sounds just like this. Those highs, man. That was sick. He kind of closed around the high. It's just a really cool sound. Got some tunnel in there. That was really cool. So those were those hardcore yells again, but he started kind of in a low chesty yell, and then brought it up into like almost like a head voice yell. That was really cool. I don't hear that a lot. Maybe that's more common than I realized, but that was kind of a new thing for me, and I really liked that a lot. That was creative. Yeah, so it kind of started like down here, and then moved up to like, kind of neat, kind of cool. I wonder. Okay, so moving from chest to head, there's a section of the voice called the passaggio, and that's kind of where the click happens, like think yodeling. I wonder if there's a cool way. This is just a thought I had split second right now, where you could take those types of yellings or that type of like hardcore metal yelling and safely utilize that move through the passaggio to create like a yodeled yell. Maybe, I don't know. Could be weird. Someone try it safely. Oh, fuck, that was cool. I love how he, like, it almost sounds like he physically picked up his voice and, like, suplexed it. Just, bam. I don't know, just the way he did that was very well executed. Forget it. That's negative. Ooh, we had like a little like sort of pig squealy gurgle there. That was really cool. And then I want to say one more thing about his highs. There was a little, it looked like there was a little cupping there, but I mean, obviously this isn't the actual track they were performing, but yeah, you know, keeping it high, keeping it tight. I like to throw a little bit of tunnel tongue on that as well. So I'm kind of here. Or you can like do the taco tongue, which for me is a little harder to do with the lows. More like right there. I don't know. See, like I tried tipping over like he does, and no real difference. But that was pretty cool. And as far as the highs, one thing that I've noticed when people say like, oh, I really like that dude's highs, what they really like is that on certain vowels, they tighten it up, specifically E and N. Now, I know we talked about that before, but when you do that, really focus on kind of making it a little bit more nasal. So if we say the word sing and we hold that NG, sing, you hear how like your nose buzzes a little bit? Well, don't close your nasopharynx, which is what's closing to make that nasal sound. Don't close it all the way, but close it like a little bit, like halfway. And you can kind of go from instead of a to a so relaxed, non-engaged nasopharynx. Half closed nasopharynx. You see how one's kind of up there and a little tighter? That's one way you can really kind of move those vocals around. You know, you can think of your high as existing here and then existing in your nasal cavity, and then you can bounce up and down between them. So, kind of a cool way to do it. And I like how he's doing it here as well. Oh, we got the crab! Yeah! Another thing that I think is important to know is a lot of people, they don't realize, well, I'm sure they realize it, but they'll be like, this is my guttural, so I start with my guttural tongue at the beginning all the time. But you can make a low guttural halfway through, and he kind of does that here. I gotta find he does it very quickly, so we gotta find the right spot. Yeah, it sounds like he's kind of doing that there. So like, if I do like a low, none of that's guttural, but I can take the tongue and move it up and down to kind of accentuate certain parts of certain words. I'm not going to say any words right now. It's just going to be a bunch of gobbledygook, but right? You can kind of move in and out of a guttural to make it sound really interesting. Like, ooh, this will be fun. Let's do normal, a little bit of tunnel, guttural, normal. Let's do that for fun. So normal, little bit of tunnel, guttural, normal. That's kind of cool. Let's play with the cheeks now. Sorry, I'm getting distracted, just having some fun. But hey, this guy's giving me ideas. I love the sound of the guitars. Love the guitar tone. Ooh. Oh my God. All right, we got to listen to that outro again, because that was insane. That was like a celebration of all things low metal vocals. So he did a low, brought it lower. He was playing with a lot of different low positions, low mouth shapes, and it was really cool because he would start here, hit it, go back, hit it, go back, hit it. So each one was kind of getting its own time to shine. And that's the thing, like when you find your low vocal, think of it as your bass point and then play around with everything happening on top, because that's how you learn to do all the crazy techniques like this. Yeah, punch in the ground. So he did like a then an if I heard it correctly. But that's basically what he's doing. He's moving through those different low shapes, and it sounds sick. Now, one thing you'll hear there is it was a really hot... We've talked a little bit about articulating your low with the bass point of different vowels, and that's exactly what just happened here. And you can hear how much of a difference it makes. Could just because of the lyrics, of course, but whenever I hear stuff like that with a vocalist, I have a hard time thinking that they're not at least accentuating it to make the vocal sound really cool. So you can think of that as E-O, which is interesting because one time I was talking to my mom and I was like, Mom, what do you think about metal vocals? And she said, I think it sounds like they're just saying E-O, 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 E-O. I don't know why she said that. Maybe she was hearing stuff like this. That switch from the high to the low, that's one of those things that, like, when you get that, that's one of the things that I think is so cool. When people can just hit a high, then go straight to a low. So neat. That actually took me a while. So if it's hard for you, don't worry about it. Take some time. And then we had some really cool tunnel throat going on at the end there, at the very, very, very end. We'll talk about that, then I'll shut up. you actually could hear that he moved the back of his tongue to allow a little bit more contact between the back of his tongue and the soft palate, because it gave it that really thick gurgle, like almost hawking a loogie sound. One more time. One more time. Just one more time. Like, tell me if you can hear the difference here. I'm sure you can, but so it's just pretty open. Now I'll close it up a little bit so you can hear the tongue making very, very light, intermittent contact with the soft palate. Play around with those shapes. It's fun. It's awesome. This was a really neat song. Pretty good vocalist. I'm definitely going to listen to more of To the Grave, and I had a lot of fun. Also, if anybody out there figures out yodel metal vocals, 10 bajillion Cardivox points to you. Now, let's jump into the Cardivox Academy community feature at the end of the video, like we always do. So today's video comes from a community member, Craig Borders, and I'm showing it number 1 because it's pretty funny, but number 2 because he actually does a really good job. So if you ever wanted to know what the Jurassic Park theme melody sounded like as gutturals, now you can. God dang it. There we go. First of all, I love the memery of that. Like, just the meme quality of that is unreal. But, oh man, that's awesome. No, but if you listen, he was really moving through different tones and pitches and all sorts of cool stuff by moving the shape of his mouth and his tongue. And that's great practice. Honestly, I've never, I wish when I was learning gutturals, I had thought of doing that, because that's awesome practice. Find a melody and just play around with it in gutturals or even highs. So, yeah. It's a great thing to do. So Craig, good job. I got not only a laugh out of that, but a cool idea for some new exercises I can do, because we all got to keep practicing every day. So keep up the good work. Anyways, folks, that's it for today. I appreciate you hanging out with me as always, and we'll see you again next week for another reaction. Keep an eye on the channel. If you want to vote, jump into the Cardivox Academy Facebook community page. Many thanks, much love. I'm out.